Hello, busy professional. Today we will talk about Readwise versus Reader, the Read Later app from Readwise. It's very confusing, I know, and that's exactly why I do this video. If you're a member of the paperless movement, you might have attended a live Q&A session. We keep talking about these tools on a regular basis, and we keep explaining what the difference is and how they function. That's why we do this video. I will dive into what's the difference, how they are connected, what ends up in Readwise, what ends up in Reader, and why it's so deeply integrated in our PKM system and the note-taking that we do on a daily basis. So on our website, in our tools section, we have the tool stack that we use at the paperless movement and Paco and I are using personally. And here I just want to quickly show you where we position Reader actually in the ICOR framework in our productivity setup. So you see here the logo of Reader, and we symbolize there that Reader and Readwise are both located in this area. And as you can see, that's the PKM place. So we solely use this for personal knowledge management. It has nothing to do with BKM, the business knowledge management. So that's why this is represented. Then you see two other tools here. One is Tana and the other one is Heptabase. And it's crucial now to show you this because it will make a lot more sense later on when I tell you about how we connected these with our note-taking apps. And why do we use two different note-taking apps? Well, that's something that you learn in the PKM Like a Pro course. We differentiate between shallow thinking and deep thinking systems. So Tana is to us a shallow thinking system and Heptabase is a deep thinking system. So shallow thinking is really the next step after you capture information and you move it forward, and you collect as much information as possible. Once you hit a wall with this tool, when it comes to organizing and making even more sense out of it, then we move on to the next tool and bring in the distilled information into our deep thinking system, and then we visualize it in Heptabase. If you want to learn more about Heptabase, there's a beginner's course on this YouTube channel as well, so feel free to check it out. But today we talk about Reader and Readwise, so now let's dive in what the differences are between Reader, the Read Later app, and Readwise. I always prefer to visualize this in a diagram to explain you the theory behind these tools and their different connections, how they work. So we have the Reader app and we have the Readwise app. If you just focus on these two for a moment, then it's already crucial to understand that Reader only feeds into Readwise. It's not the other way around. It's not like that they are synchronized and whenever I collect anything in Readwise, it goes to Reader. That's not the case. It will just get synchronized to Readwise. Something I missed here, and let's quickly do this, is obviously Kindle. All right, that's one of the key things that so many people love about Readwise, that you can read your Kindle books and make highlights, and these highlights from your Kindle books will be synchronized to Readwise. So I have a book that I'm reading, I make a highlight, this highlight goes into Readwise. The purpose behind this is that I can then leverage space repetition. So I can go into Readwise or use one of the widgets to keep seeing these highlights over and over again. Or, and that's one of the superpowers of Readwise, I can synchronize this then to my beloved note-taking app, or what we call then the final destination. That's another thing. If you're using Readwise, competition has a really hard time now because Readwise synchronizes with so many note-taking apps already. So it's like Notion, Obsidian, Heptabase, Tana. Synchronizing with all these platforms is really, really well helpful. The only difference is the different ways it synchronizes. So it presents the highlights in different ways. But to us, that's the ultimate purpose, to have it in our shallow thinking system, or in Heptabase, for example, even in our deep thinking system. And it doesn't stop with Kindle. That's the key here. What happens with all the other resources that we have here? So X, for example, I can actually synchronize X directly with Readwise by just doing bookmarks of X posts. So these bookmarks get then synchronized to Readwise. I could also save it in Reader. So why you do this, you will see when we talk about, for example, web articles. So web articles, you usually save directly to Reader, to the Read Later app. And the amazing thing about Reader, it really makes the website a lot more readable. If you're interested how all this looks like, this process, we have an implementation part in our courses where Paco dives deep into how he uses Reader and how he saves web articles in Reader and makes the highlights. But the key takeaway here is that when you save a web article in Reader, that it is saved in Reader. It's not synchronizing to Readwise the whole article. So now you go into Reader, you start reading this article in your Reader application and start highlighting. And only those highlights get then synchronized to Readwise and therefore then synchronized to your note-taking app. And that's amazing. The same applies to YouTube videos. Why should you save YouTube videos in Reader? Well, the amazing thing about Reader, and it's one of the few applications out there, if you save a YouTube video link, it will automatically transcribe it or use the transcription and place it in Reader. So you can read through the transcription, and the amazing thing is when you click on any text, it will jump to the position inside the video. So therefore you can watch the video, make highlights on these transcripts and therefore take notes already. You can add also notes to these highlights. Those highlights then get synchronized to Readwise and Readwise synchronizes back to your note-taking app. So you have it already in a distilled format in your note-taking app instead of saving everything in your note-taking app. And podcasts, that's actually something that just recently launched that we really love to use at the Paperless Movement is Snipped. Snipped is an application that you can use on your phone. And you can listen to all the podcasts as you would do from Spotify. The difference is that you can press a button whenever you think something was interesting, and it will not only save the transcript, but AI actually will create a perfect transcript, also understands where it's the best part to start and end the saving of this highlight. And then it also synchronizes to Readwise, so it pushes it forward to Readwise. And this is amazing because when I'm in my car, obviously note-taking is always hard, but that's the place where I'm listening to podcasts. So there's no way that I can take out an iPad or an iPhone and then quickly take notes. Instead, I'm listening, I press the button, that AI will understand what to pick that I just listened to. From this whole 1 hour podcast, it will send this snippet to Readwise and Readwise will be syncing it to my note-taking app. So once I'm back and work on my knowledge management, then everything is ready that I was listening there and I can process it later on. So that's really essentially it. Obviously, there are more ways to connect. You can connect things to Readwise and Reader and so on. But this is one of the key elements that I'm using it for. One more thing that we could mention is actually PDF files. So you can also upload PDF files or PDF books to Reader, and there's the same process. You start highlighting, the highlights get synchronized to Readwise, and then you can use Readwise to move on to your note-taking app. So I hope this was already useful to you in order to better understand the differences between the two tools. So feel free to take a screenshot of this if it is helpful for you. And now let's quickly see how this looks in action. So here I'm in a book called 4,000 Weeks that I'm currently reading. Let's say I have a deep insight into something and I want to highlight this. This is on the Kindle Cloud Reader here, but it also works if you're just on a actually physical Kindle device. If you highlight there, the synchronization works as well. So here, we were not supposed to hate Mondays and live for the weekends and holidays. Okay, that's something I think is interesting. I highlight this now and you see already on Kindle, I could now take notes as well, but I don't want to do this here. So I can just keep reading and highlight and forget about it. I keep reading and then I highlight something else. Let's now go to Readwise and check how this looks like. And now we are here in Readwise, and when you go to connect and sync, you see when you go to import, here are all the connections that you can have with other tools to bring the thing in. Here I connected with Kindle and I synced it already. And if we go here, then you see there we are. There are already the two synced highlights. I just tested it in the beginning. And here we are. We were not supposed to hate Mondays and live for the weekends and holidays. So if we check out our map again, we are at this stage. We just had Kindle and we sent the information to Readwise. So the highlight is now in Readwise. Now let's check if the synchronization actually works as well by going to Tana. And in Tana, I could just now search for the book, for example. If you just put in 4, you see already 4,000 weeks highlights, Readwise books. I go here and now you see the highlights are just showing up here, and these are the two that we just have seen, and it even shows me the location. Same here, it shows me the location. So this means I always have a reference back and I can find the context of my highlights. So now let's have a look how this looks in Heptabase. So you have here the highlight meta app. You just click there and you see on top already 4,000 weeks. And there we go. We are not supposed to hate Mondays and live the weekends on holidays. And now I can click here and it will open up Readwise and it brings me to the related content. And now I could simply go here and add this to a whiteboard or create a new whiteboard. Go here, and now I have the highlight in here, and I can start bringing in more cards and doing my visual thinking here, the deep thinking process. So I think the amazing thing is that all my highlights are appearing in all the note-taking apps that I'm using. We are using several note-taking apps because we have specific purposes for these note-taking apps. If this is something you're interested in to build your own perfect productivity tool stack, then we highly recommend to take our ICOR journey inside the Paperless Movement membership, as there we teach all the things that you need in order to build this, especially if you're overwhelmed with your scattered information all over the place. I hope this video was useful for you and brought some clarity between the Reader Read Later app and the Readwise native app. And share with us in the comments below, how do you use these tools? As there are obviously a lot more ways to use them. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so I can catch you up next time.